the Worlds off of the qualifier since they had not even placed in the playoffs in their home region. We'll see if things change, though. Once again, as you pointed out, the red side, this was Hong Kong Attitude's choice. They might have a plan up their sleeves as we get into picks and bans. Rakan, Syndra banned away. Of course, the Kalista also going to follow through. And then the Ryze, I don't think we can really expect anything too different there.
Like I said, Ryze is probably going to be a permaban. Mission just simply doesn't play it, and I like to think that Ryze is really climbing up the ladder of priority picks for that mid lane. So, unfortunately, whether they're on red side, they're blue side, I expect this to be a staple ban for HKA.
Makes a lot of sense, and now the ball's back in their court the last time around. We, of course, saw them removing the Syndra, but that was removed on Fnatic's side, so we'll see what Hong Kong Attitude do here.
Sejuani is the big champion that's kind of left open. You know, do they ban it here, and is it going to be another Gragas first rotation, or did they leave it open, try to bait Fnatic into picking or prioritizing an ADC, and then get the Sejuani for themselves?
It looks like they decided to go a different route and ban out the LeBlanc, so we might see the Sejuani coming in here for Broxa. Of course, a lot of junglers other than Jarvan left up.
Xayah, Tristana, Sejuani. All the big champions left up. I expected it would be Sej, and there it is.
Yeah, and I think Hong Kong Attitude, no-brainer to go ahead and take the Trist now. What are they going to answer with? I think they definitely should pick up their jungler earlier on. Godquai did not look nearly as comfortable when he wasn't on an engaging tank.
But they don't technically need to pick it up in this rotation. I'd like to see them grab an aggressive support. I did like the Alistar, especially because with taking the Tristana, it's probably going to be the Xayah. So pick up the Alistar again. Unified and Kaiwing looked very confident in the 2v2 across from Reckless and Jesus.
All right,
that's a left turn.
It's going to be Yordle Combat. Lulu down on the bottom side, so let's see how that one goes. Very pokey lane.
I don't know how I feel about this. I prefer Kaiwing on much more playmaking-oriented supports. Obviously, it makes sense, an Ardent Sensor user, the ability to augment a lot of Tristana's attack speed. These champions certainly synergize really well together, but it's about the responsibility in HKA. You know, who is their big playmaker? Who's going to start the fights for them? And Kaiwing is one of those guys.
I'll see where that falls to with the change up here in the composition now for Fnatic's side. They're locking that Xayah as expected. And we are looking at a Karma bottom lane, which you mentioned the last time around in picks and bans. Another Jez's special that likes that poke damage she can provide, and the shields.
Yeah, and it's really about that pushing potential. When you have the Lulu, Tristana, it's already going to be a very heavy pushing lane. Now with Xayah Karma, it gets a bit easier for Fnatic to create space or even a pressure point that Broxa can play around. You know, if they get the push advantage bottom, he can suddenly start invading on that. Or if he doesn't want to invade, he has safety to farm his own jungle because his bot lane will be pushed up protecting him.
A lot of CC when he comes and brings it now. For Hong Kong Attitude, they lock in the Gragas before the next phase of bans come in. They don't want to expose Godquai to a couple more jungle bans being thrown his way. And now we enter that second phase of bans.
And already it's pretty standard compositions. They really haven't shown, you know, too much. I talk about kind of the core of a composition a lot. These are just surrounding, you know, cherry on top, some sprinkles, but it's not really like a siege composition or a monster objective burn composition or a big 5v5 composition just yet. It's just kind of the stock standard basics.
All right, so what kind of Sunday do you fancy for Hong Kong Attitude? How should they fill this one out?
I actually wanted them to take the Maokai, but they banned it away. I want them to have the hard engaged champion. I'd like to see a traditional 5v5, especially because they picked up, you know, the Lulu Tristana combo.
Yeah. Well,
but I won't get my way.
He also won't have Cast in this game since that's banned away from him. Let's see what Hong Kong Attitude ban out if there's another top laner up against Soaz. No, instead, it's the Orianna.
Trying to deny a lot of wave clear options, or more wave clear options from Caps. Trim down that pool a little bit. Still think Caps has more than viable options left to him.
Oh yeah, he's got a pretty solid champion pool. We've seen him pull out some really interesting stuff when he doesn't get a lot of the champions he wants.
His Aurelian Soul hasn't been touched.
It's always a possibility. You want to talk about being able to roam down. He doesn't have to be worried about being isolated in lane when he never has to be in lane.
If you won't come to me, I will come to you.
Well, that is sometimes what Caps likes to do. Now for Hong Kong Attitude, ball's back in their court to try and pick up. We're still looking for the top lane, looking for the mid. And hallelujah, as you nailed it, it's going to be Jace.
Okay, so Mission, he goes from one comfort pick and then he lands onto the next one. It is going to be his Jace. These are kind of like his two big signature picks. It's also going to put pressure on Caps. You know, what will you match across from that? Could also be a Karma mid lane.
Yeah, that's very possible. You know, that's where the Ardent Sensor can be, and maybe we'll see that. And it's going to give him a fair amount of safety in the lane, but Fnatic, they lock in, speaking of safety, locking in the Shen. And now it's back to see what the final pickup will be. Does Caps go towards, or if they do decide to flex that Karma. 15 seconds remaining. Eyeball on the Casio.
would make sense with their composition. Again, it offers a lot of safety. It's really hard to dive onto the backline. It's hard to catch Xayah anyway with their ultimate. And then when she's standing next to Cassiopeia, it becomes even more impossible. Great beefy front line with the Shen and the Sejuani. So many different options to start fights and create distance. So I really like what Fnatic have put together. They've got great bridging points, you know, champions that can peak really early in the mid game and then handing off that baton into the late game.
Yeah, and for Hong Kong Attitude, it looks like they're going to try for a little bit more damage all across the board. Last lock-in is going to be that Rumble for Riris.
And it was really Mission's Jace that kind of gave away that it was going to be Riris' Rumble. Again, another signature pick for him. Because you have the big 80 threat in the mid lane, it means that Riris can be freed up to look for the magic damage up into the top lane. So one of the reasons why Mission is such a proficient Jace player is that it opens up the ability for Riris to play his Rumble.
So we get ourselves a very comfortable Hong Kong Attitude composition, and you know, only one true tank, but that artificial tanking is coming out of the Lulu's Wild Growth means that, you know, any one of those carries could definitely get beefed up right on the front line. I think I like this fighting ability from Hong Kong Attitude as well, but they've once again got side lane pressure.
And it's, again, another great bridging composition. You know, the fact that Jace can be that big power in the early game as well as spiking in the mid lane. Rumble then takes over as soon as he is like level 6, level 11, and then 3 points at his ultimate and then handing it off to Tristana. So there's points at every single portion of these games' compositions, or these teams' compositions, where they can be powerful, where they can look to make plays, and we shouldn't have another slow farming game as Fnatic were just waiting to ramp up.
Yeah, expect it to be a little bit more explosive in the early game, and the mid, and the late, why not? And for Hong Kong Attitude, they've got a few more tools to work with, not so much one-dimensional. We'll see if Fnatic can take it to them twice in a row, put themselves up 2-0. The old kings of Europe gunning for the group stage of Worlds.
Do they get to be the kings of Europe anymore?
They're the old kings,
I feel like G2 just like ripped that from them.
Just because you're not sitting on the throne anymore doesn't mean you didn't used to.
I'll accept princes of Europe.
Does that mean they're going to be ascendant next year? I don't know. Well, we'll find out. Hong Kong Attitude, of course, another third seed from their region, trying to prove that the LMS is not a two-dimensional place. We'll find out if they're able to take it and even things up against Fnatic. We load up onto the Rift. Same sides once again.
And a lot of my attention is going to go to Riris and its Rumble. Again, it is a comfort pick for him. He's certainly showed big things on this champion, but it's a very different style. You know, this is HK recognizing, okay, the side lane pressure, that didn't really go as we planned. Let's focus more on kind of the big 5v5. Let's play around this team fighting ultimate. Whereas Soaz now gets to control the tempo in the side lanes. Like, buddy, you are staying here with me or I'm going to beat you there anyway.
Pretty much. Well, he's got a pretty quick out if he decides that he wants to get on top of one of his carries. You mentioned that beefy front line that the Shen, the Sejuani can provide. He can get there right quick with Stand United. We'll see how it all unfolds. Line of scrimmage, no shenanigans this game.
I am really feeling the crowd passion behind both these teams. There were a couple of Fnatic jerseys and signs popping up in the crowd, so it's not just the one-dimensional hometown favorites for Team WE in Wuhan. Now the crowd is chanting Jaya. It means refuel or fan the flames. It's kind of like saying good luck. So if you want to cheer for your team in Chinese, it'd be Fnatic Jayo.
Yeah. Entering lessons with Frosker, and I love it.
HK, you were supposed to say HK Jayo.
Yeah.
You
HK Jayo.
messed up. I set it up for you.
I mean, I let you down quite a lot, don't I?
Yeah.
We'll see if HK doesn't let you down here. Still, not deciding to go too deep to kick things off. Everyone from Fnatic waiting in the wings, try to dissuade any early aggression.
And it's
like
kind
we'll
of it's kind of about where these junglers will strike first. Now, we've mentioned this in game number 1. We'll mention it again in game number 2. Godquai is much more the proactive early game jungler when matched up across from Broxa. That said, you know, he doesn't have the same sort of hard CC to work around in his lanes as he did in game number 1. He's going to have to be the guy that provides that. In his jungle proximity, he tends to pay more attention to mission than either of his side lanes, and he certainly has the burst damage to follow up with Jace. You know, having those two forms, he can be quite explosive in the early game. So I would almost expect Godquai as one of his options to really look at Caps here and try to punish this Cassiopeia.
Yeah. Caps didn't have too much trouble last time around, and even without Brox once again spending a whole lot of attention anywhere near him. See how this one all unfolds. But the bottom lane was what got really more explosive in the last game. And with the Tristana and Xayah once again, gotta expect that there might be, maybe not so many all-ins, but a lot of poke damage coming back and forth without Lulu.
Yeah, I don't expect that there's going to be all-ins. You know, there's not the Alistar available, but it's probably just going to be the ebb and flow of pushing a wave forward. And then it's about what do the junglers do with this different pressure point to pivot around.
Yeah, the bottom lane is definitely going to be a little place to look for the junglers, not just because of the way the lanes are going, but we also have Yet another Infernal, blessed with the Dragon RNG this time around. Was nowhere to be found in game 1, but game 2 is going to be another story.
I was almost really excited that Broxa was pathing towards the extended Jace, but then he took a right turn and took the Scuttle Crab. I was like, wait, Broxa's going to gank mid?
It's like there's a magnet mid lane, and he's on the same polarity. Every time he gets close, he gets turned away.
Doesn't need to. He just wants to hard farm, get that ultimate on Sejuani. He's just having a good time in his own jungle.
And Caps isn't, doing too terribly either. Every time he takes a little bit of damage, you can see he backs off just a skosh, hides behind that minion wave, and makes sure that Mission can't really follow through on him. Now Godquai, he's on a mission himself, straight up into this jungle. Not going to find that red, but he might find Broxa. See if we're in for a jungle fight. He doesn't want it. Barrel pops, blast cone, and he's out.
And he's going to feel safe to do this simply because Jace does have a rotation priority right now because he is pushed forward, so he'll get there before Cassiopeia. But it was a fight over the Krug camp. In the end, though, Broxa gets his full clear, and he's got the Krugs to himself. And as I say that, is he going to gank bottom?
He just might. Unified Kaiwing a little bit pushed up. There's no ward in that Tri-Brush, so he might go unseen.
Yeah, he definitely has the line in, or he might just assume that the Tri-Brush is warded and might not think it's worth his time and wants to finish Krugs.
Well, looks like we got a bit of a battle in the mid, though. Mission, early pressure you were talking about. A little uncertain if he wants to keep on pushing. Caps gave as good as he got.
Caps also has the minion wave exactly where he wants it right now. He's super comfortable. Mission gonna make his early back, but if Caps holds it there, then he will have to call his jungler over to assist him.
See it happen. Meanwhile, down back in the bot.
Both junglers bottom.
They've arrived. Everybody knows about this party, though. Let's see, Kaiwing and Unified a little bit low, and they look to jump onto Reckless, looking for that first blood. Nearly have it, and they do. It goes over to Unified, and right now for Fnatic, not too happy with how that's all going to unfold, and Unified hopping right behind Godquai on the front line. Jez is leading up the rear as Broxa was able to back away. Hong Kong Attitude come up with 1 kill.
So the other option that was available to the junglers is ganking the overextended bottom lane. You know, both these bottom lanes have the potential to push, but that means that they're going to expose, the fleshy underside to the river. And it was Gragas that got there first.
Yep. Superior vision, superior positioning, and they're able to do it. And even in a 2v3, Broxa and Jez is trying to make sure that Unified Kaiwing and Godquai can't all push it off for free.
And I will note that both their trinkets are down. That said, Fnatic's bot lane have fallen prey to this already multiple times throughout the playing stage. If you go back to their KLG game, they also fell for the very similar game. Now mid.
Level 5, okay, Caps, he's not quite got nearly enough damage to turn it back around, and Mission does not push his luck on that one. Still, we're starting to see this lane dominance that Hong Kong Attitude are noted for. We saw it in the bottom lane with a little help from the jungler, and we'll see it again.
And again, it's Reckless stepping forward, doesn't have the vision. He knows his jungler's there, so that's why he feels confident to posture like that in the lane. But it's Godquai that comes out of the brush, finds the big damage. The Ignite comes down, denies a lot of the heal, and suddenly it's first blood on Reckless.
I love the way the Unified just starts by jumping in. He knows his team is going to be able to back up. He knows he's going to get rooted regardless, but he wants to position himself so he can still dish out those auto attacks. Very aggressive Tristana play, and he gets a well-earned VF sword. Back up towards the top side now. Soaz is giving Rivers a run for his money, and there's a level 6 advantage, so if he wants to get involved, he's going to have a little bit of an easier time for it, but that is pretty much equalized right off the bat.
Yeah, it's not even just the fact that he has a faster route towards the bottom side of the map, which makes those plays that much riskier for HKA, knowing that they'll have to deal with Shin, but it's also a CS advantage that Soaz has accrued over this Rumble.
Yeah, so even though the bottom lane, the mid lane might be going well for Hong Kong Attitude, the top's a little bit of a different story right now, and they're going to want that Rumble to be in a good position when he starts ramping up for the fights, but Shen might be just a little more valuable.
I mean, the nicest thing about Rumble is that he's still a fairly low econ champion. It's adjusted a little bit as we've kind of changed him over the course of time, but ultimately you get points in your levels and you still do a lot of damage.
Yeah, and the equalizer is pretty useful all the same, especially when people start bunching up in tight corridors.
You're not super reliant on finding a massive snowball in your lane to then transfer into your team fighting presence.
Naturally. Now, Mission having a hard time getting back to the tower. Misses on that shock blast. Twin Fangs being sunk into him. Fnatic's still controlling a little bit of this river. You saw them place the ward down inside of that infernal pit, and the junglers once again are going to meet each other. Godquai not there in time to get the smite fight off. Brox is running away though.
It's not just a little bit control over the river. Caps has pretty much entire control of that river. He has Mission locked down, and Godquai can really only feel confident as long as his bot lane starts to rotate up to him.
Still the Hong Kong Attitude dual laners not feeling too bad about pushing up as they know where the jungler is going to be.
Playing bottom is still very dangerous. Now, they would like to punish Reckless for not having a flash. That said, he will be close to level 6 and offer him a lot of safety there with his big, what is it, Feather Dance?
Featherstorm?
Featherstorm, that's the one.
Close enough.
But it's so dangerous to play bottom if you don't know exactly where Soaz is.
Yeah, that's definitely the problem, and they're going to be relying on information from Riris for sure, and even so, not nearly as easy to interrupt that Shen. Now Caps and Mission still dancing it out in the mid lane.
Normally you would see a lot of teams actually rotate their bot lane top here, so this is a lot of confidence in Unified and Kaiwing to really try to punish Jezus and Reckless, but it's not transferring into anything other than a slight CS lead.
Yeah, and that's not a huge thing right now if you're Fnatic, because you know you're going to have that bridging composition you talked about. Let's see if they can turn this into some more kills, though. Mission goes in on to Cap, spending out the ultimate from Soaz. Now it's a 2v2 in the mid. Godquai tagging his way forward. Mission a little low on the mana and on the health. Can't do a whole lot, and Godquai's isolated. Equalizer comes in, and this fight just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's 2 kills in favor of Fnatic. Fnatic can make that 3, a double going Soaz's way.
And it's just not recognizing where you actually had play potential in your lanes. It's so dangerous to try to gank anything other than the Shin at this point, which is why I said most of the time when teams see the Shin take over to level 6, they'll take their backs, they'll rotate their duo lane up there and try to prevent that ultimate from impacting outside factors.
And now Fnatic, they can turn those kills into something even more with 4 members on the mid lane, inside track. Nothing that Hong Kong Attitude can really do is to come back up off the fountain, so it's first tower in the mid to top off the couple of kills they just picked up.
And normally Fnatic don't get first tower. I believe before this series, HK had 100% first tower rate through the play-in stage, so suddenly on the back foot as we take another look at that. And it's a beautiful flash, I believe, from Caps to deny the cast. Yeah, flashes forward, there's no cast there. Soaz comes in, and now it's Gragas just in no man's land.
Not a whole lot they could do, and Caps has been Fang in for the last mission. He's completely zoned out of that fight. Hong Kong Attitude thought they maybe had a little more backup than they did.
Yep, from bad to worse, the creep wave comes in, there's 4 members there, and suddenly a mid lane tower is down pre-10 minutes.
Yeah, so not looking great for Hong Kong Attitude, but there is a consolation prize as everyone from Fnatic backed away to spend their hard-earned gold. The Infernal Dragon was up and available, and they pick it up without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, really table scraps at that point, however. Now, the next place that HK can try to punish again is Cassiopeia. She doesn't have her flash, she doesn't have her heal. You still have to respect Soaz, because he will have Stand United very quickly.
And he's got the TP.
But you're pretty much waiting on the cast, which is just about to come up. So I expect it should be the play from HKA, just to try to, quick drive-by on this cast, especially if it's going to be that far forward.
Yeah, Mission under the non-existent turret.
But Caps understands that he's got a target drawn on him.
Oh yeah, able to play safe enough as it were. He did get a lot of attention that time around, not just from the jungle, but from everybody. Caps is deciding to move up towards the top side and gank the Rumble, though.
Yeah.
Long way away.
Oh no.
Right. Oh boy, I think Riris knows what's up.
He has a family.
Grounded, tries to flash over, see if he can walk it out, but he's stunned and taunted. Riris just trying to zoom away, but Soaz getting kill number 3 for himself.
Woo! Doesn't even drop the equalizer. Unfortunately, there's no vision to catch that. Mission lost control over the mid lane, and Caps makes a very easy rotation. And suddenly, when Fnatic do put pressure into their mid lane, look at what Caps is able to unlock for them.
Oh yeah, looking so great right now. Means free push on the tower for Soaz, denying more farm from Riris as he's coming up in 5 seconds. Caps all the way back to mid, and they know exactly where Mission is too. They can ping him out. He's going to be able to dodge away nice and safe. Fnatic pretty much holding everywhere they need to be right now, and Hong Kong Attitude's solid early game. Honestly, nowhere to be found.
And look at how confident Caps is. There's nothing Mission can do. He thought about trying to trim that wave, and he's pretty much locked out of his lane.
Oh, this is so unfortunate. He's having a bad time. Hammer form, knock him back. Now in goes Godquai. Maybe this is where Caps pushes his luck, but I think he's perfectly fine right now. They double down, the teleport in. Mission gonna get stopped up by Broxa, who should be able to kill him even through the cleanse. That was a swag ultimate if I've ever seen one.
Ooh, and HK are starting to crumble here underneath the pressure. They play a lot of their games from ahead, and you can tell that when they start losing their towers this early, they're suddenly confused. Where do I need to be? How can I get into the lane? Am I safe enough to push this? And Fnatic are just ripping them apart right now.
Yeah, looking to just dive under towers. No response possible. Big minion wave coming in for Reckless and Jezus to take out this last standing outer. Forgive me, there's still one up top, but it's not looking too healthy.
It's a stiff breeze from going down.
Yeah, well, this one's about to be the same way, and nobody's coming to defend down on the bottom side. 5-1 in kills, a 3,000+ gold lead at 12 minutes for Fnatic. Oh, this has all the makings of a 2-0 if it keeps going this way.
That said, it's not over yet. There's still a lot of late game scaling options available in the hands of Unified. Again, if anyone's going to carry HK across the finish line, it would be him. But right now, yes, a very strong start that we don't normally see from Fnatic. And this is what I was talking about. You know, Cap said in the interview that you're going to see the best version of Fnatic. The best version of Fnatic to me is their ability to carry from every single lane. And now it is Cap's turn. Yes, he's pretty much support Cassiopeia, but 100% kill participation right now.
Yeah, not looking too shabby. Of course, a lot of those fights have happened in the mid lane, so it's kind of no wonder he's got sitting at the high KP, but all the same, look at this, 1v2, almost 1v3, and Soaz is actually dishing a lot of damage back out onto Unified. That's a big Shen.
And he's got reinforcements on the way as here comes Jessus and Reckless and Broxa.
And Mantra Q, Unified, maybe not as safe as he looks. The shield is going on, and Unified gets the hop over, but instantly Broxa is right there, gets knocked away the barrel, the heal, staying alive, but Broxa's bringing Shen to the party, hopping behind that tower, teleports come a-flying, but Fnatic pay no mind. They try to get a taunt off, it's not going to happen, and maybe this is the time to back out. Equalizer's on, but Caps is slithering his way through. That Tristan is backing away, and Caps goes forward, flashing, petrifying gaze, looking for Godquine. Rivers stopped up and stunned, thrown into prison, and down he goes. Kaiwing soon to fall as there's no tower left for backup. The Fnatic gang squad coming through with more kills.
And we talk about the strength of Fnatic's team fight, and we don't normally see it this early, at least not so far in their Worlds run, but they're still showing it here. They're so far ahead of the clock. They've got their initial big itemization out, Rod of Ages on Caps, and they feel super confident to step forward, not back.
3-0-5 on this Cassiopeia. Talk about being in the driver's seat. They're going about 100 miles per hour as they start moving forward. Rift Herald on the menu, pretty easy for just Brox and Reckless to take away, and all the vision inside the top of Hong Kong Attitude's jungle, pushing in on the mid. This team just keep on pushing.
And looking back at this, you know, Broxa, okay, let's say Soaz. Soaz is taking his back right now. Pretty much saying, I have the ultimate, we can continue to go forward. Normally teams like this, like, okay, we got what we came for. We chunked out the health bars, we're here for the tower. Nah-uh. We're here for their lives. They push forward, Soaz comes back into the fight with the Stand United. Cap shows up, locks multiple members onto their tower, and then it's just a, what, fish in a barrel?
I was gonna say they took them off and that was cleanup crew, but you know, your metaphor mileage may vary, Frosco.
What, 3 kills in a tower?
Pretty good.
Pretty big swing.
Oh yeah, so now about 15 minutes we're approaching on the clock. That gold lead, 5.6K up ahead. Caps, Jezzes in the mid, clearing things away. They've got control all over the map.
But here's the good news for HKA fans. So the next dragon spawning in 50 seconds, it's a Cloud. There's no need to throw yourselves on the sword for that one. You can let it go. The Baron's not going to spawn for another 5 minutes. You just need to make sure that you guard the Rift Herald and don't, you know, lose 2 towers for it. But you do have a lot of time before the next big objective that you have to fight for is to kind of farm up and find those key items.
In the meantime, they might be able to find a pick off as Soaz. Look at how much damage he dishes onto Riris in a 1v2. Finally, they get the shutdown, but that was so close from ending the Rumble.
But that is very important that they got the shutdown bonus on the Rumble of all things. Now, this is what they needed to guard against, however. They may have used too many resources.
Yeah. Rift Herald coming in hot, takes down one inner tower, still moving in the mid, and the rest of Hong Kong Attitude a little preoccupied up towards the top side. So they might have given up a lot more than they needed to just to try and defend and shut down Soaz. Ganking the teleport's always a good idea, but at what cost?
It's still going to be pretty hard for Fnatic to break the base at this point, just because it still is so early on in the game. I mean, HK would have to make a colossal error where they just died multiple members outside of the base and allowed Fnatic to push in. So again, there's still about 4 minutes of breathing room before they need to exit their base and start looking towards the Baron.
They need to be able to do so with the items as well. You can see Jace just picking up his first completed item, and so having a Youmu's at this point, still going to be pretty good, but I feel like he might have needed some of that a little earlier. I mean, look across the board. Caps is sitting on Umbrella-Nomicon, the tier, and the Rod of Ages already completed. So they're definitely falling behind their counterparts with all the gold that Fnatic have been lining their pockets with.
They are about an item and a half behind every single member in pretty much every single position. Rumble has one of the cheapest builds, and he's like the guy that's kind of on par.
Yeah, this Shen's a monster split pusher. Like, normally you see him sitting on the Tiamat, right, and utilizing the gold he's got. But no. Okay, I got the Hydra. These guys are going to have to come to me.
And we already saw how successful he was in the 1v3 at drawing a lot of attention.
Yeah, allowing Fnatic to just keep on opening up. So 17 minutes still on the clock. Reckless going to be sent up to the top to push away the mini wave. Rest of Fnatic gathering inside the mid, going for the jungle, seeing if they can get a pick out onto anybody from Hong Kong Attitude. Have to be careful to even push into their own jungle at this point.
They're just trying to deny any of the leftover gold for HKA, taking everything and the kitchen sink away from them. They don't need to start creeping their vision into that red side jungle or top red side jungle just quite yet, because again, the Baron hasn't spawned, and the Cloud Drake is just free pickings. I mean, Zyrene likes to talk about how, you know, nothing in League of Legends is free, which I 100% agree, but that Cloud Dragon, I think, was traded for 3 creeps.
I mean, that's a pretty discount Drake. It gives him a little bit of extra movement. Does give him some serious move speed out of combat to rotate around even faster. Of course, Fnatic always having the edge in this game, and Hong Kong Attitude still trying to hang on. There's still definitely a chance for this team. The Ardent Sensor's been picked up, so that Tristana's damage will be enhanced. Need to see Infinity Edge completed, of course, just sitting on a BF, Pickaxe, and the Zeal at this time. And it's not going to get any worse. Reckless takes Shock Blast, but Fnatic might be taking it inside the Hong Kong Attitude base if this keeps up for too long. Minions here, and the rest of Fnatic are following. See if they can take this one down. Cutting through it, the Cassiopeia ult comes through, and so it does Brox's. Looks like they might be able to turn him around for now. They've run out of minions.
And Godquai, that is now 3 casts that have just completely missed the mark there. So either Caps has him downloaded and is just beautifully sidestepping that, or Godquai is just having a really rough showing on this Gragas.
Yeah, well, we didn't see as much out of the Ezreal from last game either, so questions abound, and now Fnatic running forward. They don't even need as many creeps as they've got here, just chasing Hong Kong Attitude away to claim that tower 6-0 in this game.
Yeah, and knowing that they have the confidence to do so, as soon as that cast was gone, they knew that the big engage tool wasn't going to be there, and they were just going to mow through it. Baron now 1 minute out. So I said that they had a 4-minute breathing window. Well, HKA, I hope you caught your breath.
This is the time. Got to start running that marathon if they want to put this one away in their own favor. 19 minutes on that clock. A gold lead still just spiraling out of control with Fnatic claiming all of the inner and outer towers.
And the scary thing is because it was an Ardent Sensor rush, they don't have a Sight Stone, which is fairly common. You know, they don't usually come in around 17 minutes to 20 minutes, especially when you are this far behind. But when you've lost all of your towers, Baron is spawning in 40 minutes, and you don't have the ability to place anything other than your trinkets or your control wards, that's going to make it that much more difficult to try to, you know, steal away this objective or buy themselves the miracle back into this game.
Well, maybe this is the chance for Godquai to shine. He hasn't been able to hit the barrels, but if you can hit the smite at the right time, that can start to turn things in your favor. Maybe that's the game plan. You ever want to bring it down to 50-50, but we have seen Fnatic sometimes stumble at those objective setups.
But there's definitely no reason for Fnatic to have this. This should be like the freest objective, and it could be that they feel like they don't even need the Baron to end this game.
Maybe that's the thing, right? Like if you don't, you can't give it up. You can't let a bad engage happen if you never actually go for it.
My only concern is that still extending, it allows the Gragas that much more opportunity to look for a flank play. The wave clear between Jace and Tristana, I feel like it should put emphasis on them taking the Baron, but sometimes teams don't even want to take the gamble and just feel that their gold lead, and it's close to 7K now, is enough.
Yeah. Jace is starting to sting a little bit with those shock blasts. You need to see him hit a couple more. He wants to try and take down any of the Fnatic members. As you mentioned, though, still a very tanky front line to try and wear through in the 5v5. Not easy to do unless they can find those flanks. Mission definitely having a little bit of a rough go of things. There's the shock blast missing onto Caps. Clearing out the vision game continually. Got the sight stone, not as much as they can do.
This is the smothering of vision. Like I said, it shouldn't be a 50-50 Baron. Fnatic understand, push top, push mid, clear all the vision, sit in a brush and wait for a pick. Deny the jungler, deny the 50-50, take the free objective.
Completely dark in that jungle for Hong Kong Attitude, but Fnatic have got eyes everywhere in that top side. They would know if H2K were coming a mile away. HK, excuse me. Casting the ULCS again.
And HK are doing the right thing. They're you know, flanked together. They're making sure that as soon as Gragas has his sweeper up, that's when they move into the jungle. That's when they start to put the vision forward. So they're not wandering out on their own, leaving themselves open to pick potential. They understand that they need to stay grouped up. Problem is that they've run out of time.
Yeah, here we go. The Baron started. Eyes on it. Doesn't really matter at this point because it's already down to 3,000 health. Proxy's just going to hop over. The token smite down. Doesn't even need to do it. Jez is able to secure that one up at the end of it all. And as you said, that was a very easy Baron take.
And it just doesn't get more clinical than that. Take notes for solo queue. Push top, push mid, set your triangle vision down, force them back, take the Baron.
And then rinse and repeat onto the towers now. Is this going to be enough for them to start breaking into the Hong Kong Attitude base? Rivers pushing down with a wave on the bottom, and it seems like the name of the game for them is just going to be try and deny mini waves continuing to push, but with how strong Fnatic are, that's not going to be easy. Rivers is not going to risk this one.
Keep going!
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I've seen this horror movie before.
Oh,
he's even gonna flash. Oh dear. There's the flail, gets the slow. Oh, and it looks like this could be trouble. Reckless makes it look easy with the feathers.
Just storms through him. He's got the 2 items on Xayah. He's got the crit cloak just for added measure, and they've now just got to pick up the wave. Reckless is going to grab this one, and they're going to storm bot lane.
They might be going to mid pretty soon as well, and with Soaz up on the top, it's starting to close that bear trap all on top of HK. A desperate fight looking for caps. A few more shots as Unified goes in for the jump, petrifying gaze, and he just sticks around a little too late. The barrel comes in after, but the kill's already secured. Now can Hong Kong Attitude turn this one around to the 4v4? No, I don't think so, as Godquai falls. Unified hopping forward, the Featherstorm already landed on him. Still though, losing 2 just for 1. Let's see if the Shen taunt can land, and there goes Unified as Reckless picking up the kill, and let's see if this is going to be enough to break the base.
The very edge of the hitbox. It's only Jace that's left, but not feeling comfortable enough to approach the tower and have to deal with multiple fires.
Not a whole lot they can do. Those fires are starting to go way too heavy as the Equalizer's thrown down. Reyes stopped him under tower right as he was off the fountain. Down he goes once more, and now it's up to Kaiwing and Mission to try and save the day, but their base is already in shambles. Fnatic looking to put this one away quick.
And we've now seen 2 different versions of Fnatic. Hold on, though. Mission.
One last chance to try and get the kills. They're a little low on the health bars, but he can't chase him back before the inhibitor falls. Godquai Kaiwing looking for the chase, not gonna find it.
Whenever you hear that Ghost Blade pop, you're like, how brave are you really?
Clearly not enough right now. Mission, he did not accept that one.
Definitely understood the circumstance he's in, but as I was saying, we've now seen 2 very different versions of Fnatic. We've seen the classic, Plains Fnatic, where they fall behind in the early game, they rely on their late game team fight to come back, and now we see this hyper dominant Fnatic where they just come flying out of the lane phase. Now, they did still leave themselves open to holes. Unified did a great job finding Caps, who was just a little bit too far forward, but the gold difference speaks for itself as the rest of Fnatic collapsed on this fight and just absolutely shredded through HKA.
I mean, it was a good start for Hong Kong Attitude for sure, but just too little, just on the edge, and the fact that there's a massive golden item differential means that, of course, Fnatic were going to be able to put that one out. I mean, we're 12-3 in kills right now, and one of them was just taking out the Cassiopeia in that same fight.
And we've crested over the 11k gold difference.
This is going to be a little bit of a rough comeback if Hong Kong Attitude want any chance of it.
The greatest cask in the world would have to be placed, and I don't know if it would be enough at that point. They'd have to find both Xayah and Cassiopeia and then instantaneously kill them. Yeah, they need a miracle to fight for sure, but Fnatic marching up towards the base. Looks like that desperate fight is going to be what we're going to get. Mission landing a 2-man shock blast, starting to sting a bit, but Reckless and Jezz are able to back out away with the Baron-empowered minions falling. Going to look for other opportunities. Inhibitor's already down in the top side. Yeah, but trying to, again, put out multiple fires right now. Jace and Tristana are hunkered together. It makes sense because HK, they need to fight as 5. They'll just get, split and torn apart if they separate and go into individual matchups. But that means that they're losing their top, losing their mid, and getting chipped away at their bottom. Yeah, they'd need to be hopping in to get that perfect fight, as you said, just to try and save the day and get Fnatic off their back. But meanwhile, they're already losing out on the inhibitor. Vision goes forward looking for Soaz, but they just don't have enough damage to take down the tank, and they lose their inhibitor as a result of it. That's 2 now for Fnatic, and they position right back to the bottom, finish the work they started. Yeah, and Soaz is going to go ahead and just make sure that that top wave comes in a little bit faster, but like you said, they can just 5-man stack bottom if they want. They have the Stand United, they can run the 1-4. Looks to be what they're going to do, in HKA, you have run out of time. Glacial Prison, Godquai is going to stay alive for a few seconds longer, thanks to the shields they put on top of him, but that Baron power play is huge for Fnatic, and with the super minions marching up towards the top, Soaz keeping him in tow, means that the rest of Fnatic are going to have free reign down towards this bottom side, while desperate measures are taken by Hong Kong Attitude to try and force everything back, sending Rumble up to the top to deal with it. And will they decide to take the last stand, or will they allow Fnatic to suffocate them? Well, that's the run in here. Let's see if they wanted to go all the way. Hong Kong Attitude looking to go around the side. Mission trying for that flank, but spotted out instantly. Now Soaz is isolated. He's going to get away. And a lot of respect for Fnatic right now. They didn't have the Sejuani ultimate, so they didn't feel comfortable looking for the all-in engage, not having that big CC available to them. So instead, they got what they came for, broke 2 inhibitors, disengage, steal away the blue buff, and look towards the next Baron. Keep on building that lead. It's so massive right now for Fnatic. Only a big fight would really start to turn things around, so they opt not to give it to HK. Hey. And I say that they look for the next Baron, so as it did use Blast Cone and then placed his control ward onto the buff, but again, they can just choose to 5-stack bot lane and let the super creeps mid and top do the work for them. They don't need to open themselves up into a possible steal.
I mean, they've got so much damage to work with, too. This is Xayah, you see shredding through the blue buff, or the red buff right there on 3.5 items, and you've got caps on this Cassio that you said, you know, this is where they started to give him some attention. He started to do some serious damage. Well, at this point, he's sitting pretty on 4 items, and with the Seraph's Embrace finished, he's not going to run out of mana anytime soon either.
I mean, how often do you see caps with higher kill participation than Reckless and Jezzus for Fnatic?
That's a good point. This has definitely been a different type of Fnatic game. First, Cap's definitely showing off his mechanical ability. Even if he gave up the Ghost on that one, Solo pushing down towards the bottom side, the rest of Fnatic can come and meet him pretty easily, tagging their way in to clear out the waves. It's going to be very difficult for Hong Kong Attitude to try and stop this tide from overwhelming their base.
Now they decided to pull back because they didn't have Brox's ultimate. They do this time.
All right, one more shot on the tower is all it's going to take as Broxa was leaping into the front, looking for a stun off or just to deter Hong Kong Attitude from trying to push back. And this would be the last inhibitor to try and take out. The Ice Bullet doesn't land. Mission still flanking around the side. Fnatic realizing that maybe on the cooldowns they don't want to take this fight. Shock Blast landing. Caps goes forward, flashing for the Petrifying Gaze. Not going to get the stuns off, just the slows. Equalizer comes down. Fnatic huddle into the corner, and they still are able to drag away HKA.
Godquai still has flash and cask.
Pops away to avoid the taunt. Broxah looking for the slowdown, for the chase, but the rest of Fnatic, they've got the inhibitor in mind right now. A little bit low on the health bar, so it's getting knocked back into Mission. Do they have the damage to finish off the Shen? He gets the taunt off onto Godquai. Looks like Caps is the target. However, he gets the heal and the shield. Can Unify take him out? Looking for the big buster shot, but it's not going to be enough. The cast knocks Reckless away to the side. Featherstorm coming back up at Fnatic. They're looking to close this one out with no more tools left in the tank for Hong Kong Attitude. That's a double kill over for Reckless, cutting through the Nexus turrets, and they will close this one out. 2-0 in this series. 1 game away from moving forward at Worlds 2017.
And what more do HKA have left in the tank? They got their Cassigan, they got their Jason, their Rumble, and Fnatic didn't care either way. They beat them in the mid-late game, they beat them in the early game. Do they have anything left for Game 3, or are they about to go into the night?
For Hong Kong Attitude, it's a nightmare scenario. This is the team that stood up and said, we want to be in the top 16 teams in the world. We deserve it. We can prove that the LMS is a very powerful region and not just top-heavy. But Fnatic right now are shutting them down.
Yeah, and fun fact going into this, LMS and EU were 9-9 over the course of every single Worlds in MSI, so this was the best of 5 to definitively say, you know, EU better than LMS.
Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as NA, but we may find that one out a little bit later. Fnatic have to be really happy about this right now. We saw, as you said, multiple sides. The if it ain't broke, don't fix it Fnatic early on when they had to come back in game number 1, but for game 2, honestly, really impressive when they put those resources into Caps.
And they really didn't change anything about their draft. It was kind of the same cut or dry, but kind of different ways that they exploited the map.
Right. Well, now for Fnatic, they're 2 games up in the series, and to hear how they pulled that one off, let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Fnatic, if we're honest, smashed that game. Fnatic were in absolute control. And what changed between game 1 and game 2 for this team that set this up?
I don't know how much changed on the Fnatic side. A lot definitely changed on the HKA side with that draft. They definitely went for the more early game approach, which I think we are fine with, but they sold the farm while doing it and ended up with a team comp that does not do anything if it falls behind at all.
Yeah, the problem they have is, like, I saw them lock in the Jace. We heard Frost talking about how this is a big comfort pick for Mission, how he feels very confident. We already saw his casting earlier on the day. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a chance. Like, Jace mid, it can work out fine. Then they pair it up with the Rumble, and I was turning to Mike and I was like, now look, I might not be an expert, but when I look at this comp, I'm not really seeing the goals here. It seems a little mixed match because they kind of want to run the 1-3-1, but they also kind of want a team fight. And then we were like, yeah, I don't really see the late game value of this comp. So the only real way they're going to win is if they get some kind of early lead.
And they didn't make it this time. I think with the Lulu Trist, they're probably hoping to get a little bit more return, but I like that Fnatic kind of attacked that potential weakness right away, and rather than going for Janna again and potentially lose the bot lane phase, they take the Karma to combat it right away because they're saying, listen, if they don't beat us in the first 15 minutes of the game, we're going to win.
And I have to say, a pretty accurate way for them to attack it. The thing on the HKA side is I feel like if they had won that early game, they had an out, and from their end, all they did in the previous game was win the early game, so maybe it could have been the right decision. But the issue for me is when it came to execution, if we take this look at this first replay brought to you by Ace or Predator, you can see what happens when you try to go toe-to-toe with Caps when there's a Shen there to back him up.
This is the first attempt that they've made at the mid lane, really. They could have looked a little bit earlier because Mission was doing all right in the laning phase, but now the Shen has ult, is able to join in this play and instantly turn them around, and the rest of Fnatic is ready to back them up as well.
And it doesn't matter if Broxah doesn't really gank mid very much because you have the Shen. The Shen's there to save him. The rest of the team then gets the follow-up collapse, and it's just a really good demonstration of Fnatic being very good at reacting to the play and the setup trying to be made from the side of HK.
And I think the big concern when we look at this is that Fnatic, at least for HKA, Fnatic have not shown the same weaknesses when it comes to closing out. If we look at this game particularly, and if we look at our next replay, you can see that once they have a lead, they're not afraid to make these very aggressive plays to punish the enemy.
Yeah, so the big thing here from Fnatic was that they had just taken the bot tower, so HK swapped top to try and put some pressure on, but Fnatic read the play in advance, and they said, you know what, we have the Shen, we have the stronger jungler at this point in the game, let's try and force the dive. And at this point, you're thinking, this is looking a little overzealous, this is looking risky, but now we go back to no TP on the Jace. This guy still hasn't moved out of the mid lane, and Fnatic are just much faster to get the collapse. They send 5 members top, they get the outer tower, and at this point, it is just too difficult for HK's composition to really come back in the game.
And I think Fnatic really set themselves up for success there. So as once again, playing a quote-unquote dog champion, to reference how he says it, calls it a dog champion, drops it for a week, picks it back up. But the Shen honestly looks like a good pick for him, and I'm starting to wonder what HKA actually has to ban or take away from Fnatic to stop this, or is this just purely a fumble on their end from the drafting perspective?
It does feel a little bit like they don't have a great answer. They play, standard kind of lane bully stuff as well. They can take a Renekton, they can take a Gnar, these kinds of things that will give them pressure versus it. Or Rumble was an attempt at that as well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like Ryrus is able to get any sort of advantage for himself, and it basically comes down to Mission, Godquai, and Unified to create such a lead that they're going to be able to snowball through this game. Late into this game, Unified still looked like he was playing fairly well, but he just had no frontline with this comp to back him up. So maybe you do just stick Ryrus on full tank duty.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like that I haven't really seen a huge amount from Mission. I kind of expected a little bit more coming into this series, but also Unified, he seems to be making up for that in many ways. He is playing out of his mind. In that final fight, we were all saying, like, there's a potential he might actually win this fight for the side of HK, but the deficit was just too much. But it is great to see that there is a lot of individual talent on this roster. The problem is the team isn't properly playing around their AD carry. It makes me wonder if maybe we're going to bring in the sub-jungler of Gemini maybe later in this series.
The other thing as well is that Caps is stepping up a ton in this series. I think he was one of the potential weaknesses that we were all kind of hyping up after seeing him lose some lanes to Null and
Hype
struggle.
up a weakness?
I guess we were super excited to watch this. I can't wait to see Caps lose. No, but I think it is true that we were saying Mission could potentially abuse him, and it's going completely the other way. He had a small CS lead in the Cast matchup before Caps kind of made the biggest play of the game, and this time around just held out even had a CS lead versus the Jace, and then continues to make big plays when he's attacked.
And we've seen now the Cassio be kind of a power pick for Caps. We didn't like it as much until we saw it kind of start to counter some of those Cassidy and Shen engages in the previous match until he landed that pick. But this game he was dominant completely throughout. So now I wonder, is this a pick you have to take away? Do you have to be that worried about the Cassio? And if you do take it away, you're starting to leave open maybe a few other things. Are you leaving yourself vulnerable?
I don't know. I think it's a difficult one to call because what we're seeing is that he has a lot of comfort on this champion, and it makes me wonder where else does his comfort lie? Because when I think about Caps as a player, historically, some of his best performing champions have been on some of the roaming champions, things like Talia, Aurelion Sol. He's even had a few good Galio performances here and there. And Ryze recently has become one of his more popular picks, but it just makes me wonder where does he now pivot if the Cassio is taken off him, and can he have that same level of performance?
Especially if, Fnatic now with side selection again choose to go back to blue side, it does feel like they're fine blinding, Cassio or something like that for him.
Syndra and all that stuff.
Yeah, the counter picks are not working out.
But I have some updates for you. Fnatic have chosen blue side, but maybe more importantly, Gemini, it has been announced that Gemini is going to be subbing in, and I'm curious how this is actually going to change the way that HKA are going to be playing, because that's pretty big, and I wonder if Fnatic are as prepared for Gemini as they are for Godquai.
So from what I've heard about Gemini is he is just straight up the better jungler. He has better synergy with the team. He's more active in the early game. He seems to have a deeper champion pool. He seems to have a better understanding of how to control vision. I've heard a lot of hype around this jungler, and they've primarily still been using Godquai. So it seems like that now their backs are against the wall. I don't know how much confidence I have in Gemini to suddenly be able to turn around this series, but there is certainly a lot of expectations on this player.
It does feel like a lot of the teams at the play-in stage have been starting out with their weaker player and then swapping in the strong one and being like, haha, we were kidding this whole time. One did it with Marth over Bruiser, then you had Nocti in the top lane.
Yeah.
Now potentially Gemini is joining that list. WE did it with 0, so who really knows what's going on?
And swaps have looked pretty good across the tournament. A more aggressive jungler does feel like a potential way that they can attack Fnatic because while Broxa has been pretty solid this time around, I still don't feel like we've seen him be hyper active in the early game.
I mean, the big thing about Broxa in this game too specifically was that he was just good at reacting to the plays. But even early on, we saw the deficit down in the bottom where he was just a little bit too slow to the play and couldn't quite read God quiet. Just heavily went in their favor around the mid and naturally in the top as well. So I think you're right in that Fnatic choose to right now play a fairly passive laning phase. And if Gemini is that more active, more snowbally style player, I want to see him invest resources either into Mission, let's see how much of a superstar he can be, or put more resources into Unified and be like, this guy's been performing extremely well, let's make him the main carry of our team.
Well, it's a difficult road, but I just want to round this out and get predictions for this final game because while I think this series was slated to be much closer, it looks like it's been very Fnatic dominated. Do you think the Gemini will be enough? If they can get this early lead, can they snowball it out? Because it feels like a hard road for HKA right now.
I do not think so. I think it will be the 3-0 for Fnatic.
Yep, I think HK is going to eat a bagel here and be able to not pick up any wins.
All right, rough road. Well, it's do or die for Hong Kong Attitude. We'll see if they can step it up and stop the sweep from Fnatic. That game is